As I said previously, this is going to have to be broken up. This presentation is broken up in several points, or several parts, excuse me. This is part two. So let's continue. I was cut off talking about the police officer following the letter of the law. We are in section 4 still. What facts of the case are known and are unknown and known. So, police officers following the letter of the law. The mother of James is also involved, and she understands. She wants James to have to sit in jail and think about it a little bit. The mother of David is very upset, and she obviously wants to get her son out as fast as possible, and doesn't understand why the procedure is this way. Section 4, what are the relevant known facts of the case and what facts are unknown in terms of place? This is a junior high. There are 900 students. I know that the South Side is a rough area, and that this event took place on school property. Really, fortunately, in this scenario, there's a lot of known facts. So, and not too many unknown facts within this scenario. Section 4, continuing with program. I know that the school policy they have a zero tolerance policy about what constitutes a weapon and possession of a weapon, and what the penalty is, which is 45 days in an alternative school placement. What I don't know here in this scenario is what the law has to say about zero tolerance policies. For example, in Illinois, which is where I teach, zero tolerance policies are actually illegal. We can't do those. It goes a little bit against the other way. So it's up to the school to prove intent and things of that nature. It's very difficult to suspend kids in Illinois. So it just depends on what state they're in that would determine if the school policy is actually in line with the law. And these are middle school aged kids. I'm guessing between 7th and 8th grade, based on the age, possibly a little older. I know James is 15, which is a little older, but he may have been held back. I'm not sure about that. So that's some unknowns. Section 5, could the conflict, the situation, or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or to the community? Obviously, weapons on school ground can and are, as we've seen time and time again, dangerous and damaging to our students and our teachers and faculty members of schools. So obviously, the weapons are not good. I do know that Dave is going to get caught up in red tape, or he is caught up in the red tape of the bureaucracy of the school. This could hurt Dave. This could hurt him in his future. He seems like a college-bound student. It's going to hurt for those schools. Not very many schools like to accept kids that have weapons charges. And then a main question that I have is, like, where is the line? Where do we draw the line here? If David can be suspended and his future possibly ruined over being bullied and forced to do something that he didn't want to do and wasn't his idea, and never hurt anybody in the process, and yet we're going to punish him like he was the one who masterminded the whole thing. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. But again, seems like common sense doesn't. It's not too common anymore, I guess, as the saying goes. Section 5, continuing, could the conflict, the situation, or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or to the community? This is obviously going to do damage to Dave and his family. Um, his family is going to have to go through some of this grief and through this process, and it's not going to be easy. And obviously was already causing some emotional stress on the mother in the scenario as she was crying. It's also possibly going to be bad publicity for the school and the community. The news is littered with tons of stories about schools doing silly things. And this seems to me to be right up there along with a bunch of those stories. So it could, if the news gets wind of this, it could be very bad publicity for the school and then ultimately the community. So this is a big deal. Moving on, still in section 5, have all the relevant stakeholders been consulted? Well, the parents have been consulted, who I think are relevant to this case. The police have obviously been consulted, who would be relevant to the case. The main people I feel like who are not consulted in this would be the school board. I think the school board needs to be notified about this, and this is going to go into what I think the fix is as we move into this. But the school board needs to be talked to about this, because this is a policy that is done with good intentions, I believe, but obviously is not having the intended consequences that the rule is there for. So I think the school board, the superintendent, they need to know about this. Continuing within section 5, can I learn more about the situation? Knowing the state would help a lot, because knowing the laws, obviously, as a school leader, we have to be current on all the laws that are going on within our state. So knowing the laws of that state would be huge. Like I said, in Illinois, we have no zero tolerance policies. Also, looking at current litigation that's going on with zero tolerance policies. I did a quick Google search, and there are countless litigations going on about zero tolerance policies. So these are in the news now. These are in courts now, and so I think that's something important to know about the situation. And then precedent also within the state. Has there been any other people who have fought a zero tolerance policy? So I think all these things I would need to know more about before acting. And then the $1 million question: do I know enough to make a decision? Maybe. I think knowing knowing what I know is enough for me to make this decision. However, I really need to know the state. I really need to know those laws. Like I said, the laws are vital for an administrator to be able to continue to do their job. So that would be huge for me. So with knowing the laws, I think I could make a decision. But if I didn't know the laws, then there's no way that I could make a decision on this. I really would have to know the laws and the precedents that have been set in that state. So, identify my options and possible consequences, section 6. Well, as the directions said, I needed to come up with doing nothing, and then my second one was to be the most liberal option, I guess is the way it was worded. So the first option, sign papers and be complicit in creating injustice for Dave. That's doing nothing. So I just signed the papers, and Dave goes, and I kind of wash my hands of the whole thing. My other option then, my extreme option, I guess, would be to quit right then and there and begin a nonprofit organization focused on preventing this type of injustice. Some other options that I've thought about: just flat out not signing the expulsion papers and taking the bad letter in my file. I think that's pretty easily explainable if I'm